Imagine sinking your teeth into what you believe is a crisp, healthy apple, only to discover that this everyday fruit, the very symbol of wholesome nutrition, might be quietly flooding your body with banned chemicals, genetic experiments, and nutrient-stripped imposters that could trigger everything from hormone disruption to long-term illness. What if the apple a day you've trusted for years is actually one of the 9 silent threats hiding in plain sight on grocery shelves? Stay glued to every word because by the end of this, you'll never grab another apple without checking twice, and you'll know exactly which 9 varieties to ban from your life forever if you care about your health, your kids' health, and your family's future. What if I told you that the innocent-looking apple sitting in your fruit bowl right now could be one of the most dangerous foods you are feeding your family every single day, and that 9 specific common apple varieties are so loaded with hidden toxins, genetic tampering, and industrial processing that health experts are now warning to avoid them at all costs because they are no longer the wholesome fruit our grandparents ate, but instead chemical-soaked, nutrient-dead imposters that could be slowly poisoning you from the inside out. Picture this. You bite into a shiny red apple, thinking you're doing something good for your body, giving your kids a healthy snack, keeping the doctor away, just like the old saying. But behind that perfect skin lies a nightmare of pesticide residues that penetrate deep into the flesh, wax coatings mixed with fungicides that seal in even more chemicals, storage treatments that strip away vitamins and antioxidants faster than you can imagine, and in some cases, genetic modifications that silence natural enzymes but may be silencing parts of your own biology in ways we're only beginning to understand. This is not fear-mongering. This is the terrifying reality of modern industrial fruit production, where big agriculture has turned the humble apple into a profit-driven weapon against your health. And today, we're exposing the 9 varieties you must never eat again, because once you hear the shocking details, the science, the real-world stories, and the cumulative damage they can cause, you will rush to your kitchen and throw them out forever and never buy them again. Starting with the first variety on our list, which is one of the most popular and most deceptive apples in supermarkets everywhere. This variety was once a beloved classic, but today it has been bred and engineered for one thing only: appearance and shelf life, not flavor, not nutrition, not safety. Its skin is thick like armor, yet thin enough to absorb massive amounts of pesticides and fungicides that the farmers spray up to 16 times per season just to keep it looking perfect for the stores. And once it reaches the warehouse, it gets drenched in a post-harvest chemical called diphenylamine, which is banned in Europe because of links to cancer and bladder issues. But here, in many markets, it is still used to prevent browning during months-long storage. So when you eat this apple, you're not just getting a piece of fruit, you are getting a dose of a chemical that builds up in your system over time, leading to hormone disruption, liver stress, and increased risk of chronic disease. And the worst part is that this variety is often marketed to children because of its bright color and mild taste. But studies show that kids who eat non-organic versions of this type regularly have higher levels of pesticide metabolites in their urine than adults, and those metabolites are linked to ADHD, behavioral problems, and developmental delays. Imagine giving your child what you think is a healthy snack, only to find out years later that it may have contributed to their struggles in school or their constant fatigue. This is the kind of silent damage we're talking about, and it gets worse because this variety is often coated in a petroleum-based wax that traps all those chemicals inside. So even if you wash it, you're only removing the surface, not the toxins that have soaked into the flesh. And when you bite in, you are swallowing a cocktail of residues that the Environmental Working Group has repeatedly ranked among the highest in the entire produce aisle. And the nutrient profile is a joke. The antioxidants that made apples famous, the polyphenols and flavonoids that fight inflammation and support heart health, are barely present because the apple was picked before it was ripe, bred for looks, not for the natural compounds that actually make it beneficial. So you're eating empty calories disguised as health food, tricking your body into thinking it is getting nutrition when it's really getting sugar spikes and chemical exposure that over time can lead to insulin resistance, weight gain, and even certain cancers. And I've heard from so many viewers who switched away from this variety and within weeks reported clearer skin, better energy, and fewer digestive issues.
One woman told me she stopped feeding this to her kids, and their constant stomach aches disappeared almost overnight. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you hear story after story like that, you start to see the pattern. And the big picture is that this variety is a symbol of everything wrong with modern fruit production: profit over people, shelf life over safety. And if you care about your family, you will never buy it again. And that is just the first one on the list. The second variety is even more insidious because it's often imported from regions with far looser regulations on pesticides, and many samples have been found with residue levels 2 to 3 times higher than what is considered safe in North America or Europe. This variety is hugely popular because of its sweetness and crunch, but the truth is that most of the supply comes from massive industrial orchards where farmers spray heavily to meet export standards, and the apples are harvested early, then stored for 6 to 9 months in controlled atmosphere rooms that suck out oxygen and pump in chemicals to keep them looking fresh long after they should have spoiled. And during that storage, the natural sugars turn to starch, the vitamins degrade by up to 40%, and the beneficial compounds that protect your cells from oxidative stress almost disappear. So you're paying premium prices for an apple that has been stripped of everything that once made it a superfood. And on top of that, the thin skin allows pesticides to migrate deep into the flesh, where washing does almost nothing. And independent testing has shown residues of neonicotinoids and organophosphates, chemicals linked to nervous system damage, reproductive issues, and even bee colony collapse. But we humans are eating them too, and the cumulative effect over years of daily consumption is terrifying. Doctors are now seeing higher rates of certain neurological symptoms in populations that consume large amounts of non-organic imported fruit, and this variety is one of the biggest culprits because it's so widely available and marketed as a healthy choice. But the reality is that it's a pesticide delivery system disguised as a snack. And if you've been eating this regularly, you may have noticed unexplained fatigue, brain fog, or skin issues that your doctor cannot explain. And when you eliminate it from your diet, many people report dramatic improvements because your body is finally able to detox without the constant influx of toxins. And the third variety is one that looks innocent with its golden hue, but its thin skin makes it a sponge for chemicals, absorbing more residues than almost any other type. On average, it carries over 4 different pesticides per apple, and some samples have shown traces of chemicals that are banned in many countries because of their potential to disrupt thyroid function and hormone balance. And this variety is often treated with growth regulators to make it perfectly round and colored for the shelves. And then it gets the same diphenylamine drench as the others, sealing in the toxins for months of storage. And by the time it reaches your kitchen, the vitamin C content has plummeted, the fiber has broken down, and the natural tartness that once balanced the sugars is gone, leaving you with a sweet but nutrient-empty fruit that spikes your blood sugar faster than a candy bar. And for people with blood sugar concerns or diabetes, this can be disastrous. Yet it's still recommended as a healthy option in schools and hospitals, which is outrageous when you look at the data. And one study found that children who ate this variety daily had measurable changes in their gut microbiome, leading to digestive problems and weakened immunity. And parents who switched to safer alternatives noticed their kids got less sick, had more stable energy, and even better moods because the constant low-level inflammation from the chemicals was gone. And this variety is also a favorite for applesauce and baby food, which means the most vulnerable among us, the infants and toddlers, are getting the highest exposure, and that should make your blood boil, because no parent should have to worry that the healthy snack they're giving their baby is actually harming their developing brain and body. And the fourth variety is a premium-priced one that commands top dollar because of its striking color and crisp texture. But the truth is that it's one of the most heavily treated apples on the market. Farmers use color enhancers, growth regulators, and multiple fungicide sprays to meet the cosmetic standards demanded by supermarkets. And the result is an apple that looks perfect, but is loaded with residues that can trigger allergic reactions in sensitive individuals. And long-term exposure has been linked to increased risk of certain respiratory issues and skin conditions. And this variety is often stored for 3 to 6 months using Smart Fresh technology, a chemical that blocks the natural ripening process.